Self-Made Millionaire 1. The millionaire mindset. The journey to building wealth from nothing begins not with money, but with the mind. Every fortune that has ever been created started as a thought in someone's head, a burning desire that refused to be extinguished by circumstances, doubt, or the opinions of others. The difference between those who accumulate vast wealth and those who struggle financially their entire lives is not luck, inheritance, or special circumstances. The difference lies in how they think about money, opportunity, and their own potential. Most people carry around limiting beliefs about money that were planted in their minds during childhood. Perhaps they heard their parents argue about bills, or were told that money doesn't grow on trees, or that rich people are greedy. These early impressions form deep grooves in the subconscious mind, creating invisible barriers that prevent wealth from flowing into their lives. The person who wishes to become wealthy must first examine these beliefs and consciously choose to replace them with thoughts that support abundance rather than scarcity. The wealthy person thinks differently about money itself. While the average person sees money as scarce and difficult to obtain, the millionaire sees money as abundant and always available to those who provide value to others. Money is simply a tool, a medium of exchange that flows toward those who offer solutions, services, or products that others need or desire. It is not evil, nor is it the root of all problems. Money is neutral, taking on the character of the person who possesses it. Consider how you feel when you think about large sums of money. Do you feel excited and deserving, or do you feel uncomfortable and unworthy? Your emotional response reveals your deep-seated beliefs about wealth. If you feel unworthy of riches, your subconscious mind will work tirelessly to ensure you never have more money than you believe you deserve. This invisible thermostat controls your financial temperature, bringing you back to your comfort zone whenever you begin to accumulate more wealth than feels normal to you. The millionaire mindset embraces the principle that wealth is created, not taken from others. There is not a limited pie where one person's gain must come at another's expense. Instead, wealth grows when value is created. When someone invents a useful product, provides excellent service, or solves a problem that many people face, they create new wealth that benefits everyone involved. The buyer receives something of value, and the seller receives money in return. Both parties win in every voluntary transaction. Another crucial aspect of wealthy thinking involves taking complete responsibility for your financial situation. Poor people tend to blame their circumstances on external factors: the economy, their boss, their lack of education, or their family background. While these factors may present challenges, they are not insurmountable barriers. Wealthy people focus on what they can control rather than what they cannot. They ask themselves what actions they can take, what skills they can develop, and what opportunities they can create, rather than dwelling on obstacles or making excuses. The millionaire mindset also embraces continuous learning and personal development. Wealthy people understand that their most valuable asset is not their money, but their ability to create money. This ability grows through acquiring new knowledge, developing skills, and expanding their understanding of how money works. They read books, attend seminars, seek mentors, and constantly look for ways to improve themselves. They know that investing in their own development pays the highest dividends of any investment they can make. Patience and delayed gratification are hallmarks of wealthy thinking. While others spend money as soon as they earn it, seeking immediate pleasure and comfort, the future millionaire thinks in terms of what that money could become if invested wisely. They understand the incredible power of compound growth over time. A small amount invested regularly can grow into a fortune given enough time, but this requires the discipline to forego immediate pleasures in favor of long-term wealth building. The wealthy also think bigger than the average person. They set larger goals, take on bigger challenges, and are willing to serve more people. They understand that their income is directly related to the number of people they serve and how well they serve them. Instead of thinking about how to get by or how to pay the bills, they think about how to create massive value for thousands or millions of people. This shift in thinking naturally leads to greater financial rewards. Risk tolerance is another area where millionaires think differently. They understand that the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. While they are not reckless, They are willing to bet on themselves and their abilities. They know that every significant opportunity involves some degree of uncertainty, and they have trained themselves to be comfortable with this uncertainty. They also understand that they can recover from financial setbacks because their real wealth lies in their knowledge, skills, and mindset. Wealthy people also think in terms of multiple streams of income rather than relying on a single source. They understand that depending on one job or one business makes them vulnerable to circumstances beyond their control. They work to create several different ways that money can flow into their lives, so that if one source is disrupted, others can sustain them while they rebuild or find new opportunities. The millionaire mindset involves thinking like an owner rather than a consumer. Instead of immediately spending money on things that lose value, they think about acquiring assets that can generate income or appreciate over time. They ask themselves whether each purchase moves them closer to or further from their financial goals. This doesn't mean they never enjoy their money, but they do so after they have taken care of their wealth-building activities. Perhaps most importantly, the wealthy think in terms of giving and contributing rather than just getting. They understand that money flows toward those who provide the most value to others. They constantly ask themselves how they can serve others better, solve bigger problems, or contribute more to society. This outward focus naturally attracts wealth because it aligns their activities with the needs and desires of other people. The transformation from poor thinking to wealthy thinking doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen much faster than most people believe. By consciously choosing thoughts that support wealth building and rejecting thoughts that support scarcity, anyone can begin to rewire their mind for financial success. The key is consistency and persistence in this mental training, combined with action in the physical world. Your financial future is determined by the thoughts you think today. Choose them wisely, and wealth will follow. 2. Breaking free from the employee mindset. The greatest prison most people live in isn't made of bars and concrete walls. It's constructed entirely in the mind, built from years of conditioning that teaches us to seek security in exchange for our dreams. This mental prison is what I call the employee mindset, and it's the single biggest obstacle standing between you and true wealth creation. From the moment we enter school, we're trained to follow instructions, wait for permission, and seek approval from authority figures. We learn to raise our hands before speaking, to ask for bathroom breaks, and to measure our worth by grades given to us by others. This conditioning continues into adulthood, where we're taught that the path to success means finding a good job, working hard for someone else, and hoping that loyalty will be rewarded with small annual raises and eventual retirement. The employee mindset tells us that money comes from trading hours for dollars. It whispers that we should be grateful for steady paychecks, even if they barely cover our expenses. It convinces us that taking risks is dangerous, and that the safest path is to let someone else make the big decisions while we execute their vision. This way of thinking keeps millions of capable people trapped in cycles of financial mediocrity, always one paycheck away from disaster. Consider the fundamental difference between how employees and wealth builders think about money. An employee sees money as something they earn by showing up and performing tasks. They think in terms of hourly wages or monthly salaries. Their income is directly tied to their time, creating an immediate ceiling on their earning potential. After all, there are only 24 hours in a day, and human beings can only work so many of those hours before exhaustion sets in. A wealth builder, however, sees money as something that can be created, multiplied, and made to work independently of their direct time investment. They understand that true wealth comes from building systems, creating value, and generating multiple streams of income that flow whether they're actively working or not. While an employee asks, "How much does this job pay?" a wealth builder asks, "How can I create something that generates ongoing value?" The employee mindset also creates a dangerous dependency on others for financial security. When you rely entirely on an employer for your income, you've essentially handed control of your financial future to someone else. That employer can decide to eliminate your position, reduce your hours, or simply close their doors, leaving you scrambling to find another master to serve. This isn't security at all, despite how it might feel. It's actually an incredibly fragile position that millions of people discover too late. Real security comes from developing the ability to create value in the marketplace independently. It comes from building skills, relationships, and systems that generate income regardless of what any single employer decides to do. This shift from dependency to self-reliance is fundamental to building lasting wealth. The employee mindset also programs us to think small. We're taught to set realistic goals, which usually means accepting limitations before we've even tried to exceed them. We're encouraged to be satisfied with modest improvements and to view dramatic success as something that happens to other people, not us. This small thinking becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, ensuring that we never reach for opportunities that could transform our financial reality. Breaking free from this conditioning requires recognizing that most of what we've been taught about money and success serves the interests of those who benefit from having a large pool of compliant workers. There's nothing wrong with working for others as a stepping stone or as part of a larger strategy. But accepting employment as your permanent financial strategy is a recipe for lifelong limitation. The transition from employee mindset to wealth builder mindset begins with changing how you view yourself. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who gets paid to follow instructions, start seeing yourself as someone who solves problems and creates value. Instead of thinking about what you can get, focus on what you can give. This shift in perspective opens up entirely new possibilities for generating income and building wealth. Wealth builders understand that their most valuable asset isn't their ability to perform tasks, but their ability to think, create, and provide solutions that others are willing to pay for. They invest in developing skills that increase their value in the marketplace rather than just performing well enough to keep their current job. They think about how to serve more people, solve bigger problems, and create greater value, knowing that income naturally follows value creation. Another crucial aspect of breaking free from the employee mindset is learning to think like an owner rather than a worker. Owners focus on results, profits, and long-term growth. They make decisions based on what will create the most value over time, even if it requires short-term sacrifice or discomfort. Workers focus on tasks, hours, and immediate rewards. They make decisions based on what's easiest or most comfortable in the moment. When you start thinking like an owner, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. You notice problems that need solving, inefficiencies that could be improved, and unmet needs that could be fulfilled. Instead of complaining about these issues or waiting for someone else to address them, you start thinking about how you could step in and provide solutions. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow and start a business, though that might eventually be part of your journey. It means you need to start developing the mental habits and perspectives that successful wealth builders possess. You can begin this transformation while still employed, using your current position as a laboratory for developing new skills and ways of thinking. Start paying attention to how the business you work for makes money. What problems does it solve for customers? How does it create value? What are its biggest challenges and opportunities? Instead of just focusing on your specific role, begin to understand the bigger picture of how value is created and how that value translates into profit. The employee mindset sees problems as someone else's responsibility. The wealth builder mindset sees problems as opportunities to create value and generate income. Every complaint you hear, every inefficiency you notice, every frustration people express represents a potential pathway to wealth for someone willing to provide a solution. Perhaps most importantly, breaking free from the employee mindset means taking full responsibility for your financial future. It means stopping the search for someone else to blame for your circumstances and starting the search for ways you can create the changes you want to see in your life. This shift from victim thinking to creator thinking is absolutely essential for building wealth. The path from employee mindset to wealth builder mindset isn't always comfortable. It requires letting go of the illusion of security that comes from regular paychecks and embracing the uncertainty that comes with creating your own opportunities. But this discomfort is temporary, while the limitations of the employee mindset are permanent unless consciously changed. Your financial transformation begins the moment you decide to stop thinking like someone who gets paid for their time and start thinking like someone who gets paid for their value. This single shift in perspective will open doors you never knew existed and reveal possibilities that were invisible when you saw yourself as just another worker in someone else's system. 3. Breaking free from the employee mindset. The greatest barrier between you and wealth isn't lack of money, education, or connections. It's the invisible prison of thinking like an employee. This mindset, deeply ingrained from childhood through decades of conditioning, keeps millions of capable people trapped in financial mediocrity. Breaking free from this mental cage is the first and most crucial step toward building real wealth. From the moment we enter school, we're trained to follow instructions, seek approval, and exchange our time for rewards. We learn to raise our hands, wait for permission, and accept what authority figures tell us we're worth. This system creates obedient workers, but it also creates a fundamental misunderstanding about how wealth actually works. The employee mindset teaches us that security comes from having someone else take care of us, that steady paychecks are safer than uncertain profits, and that our value is determined by what others are willing to pay us. The employee believes their income is fixed by external forces beyond their control. They think in terms of hourly wages, annual salaries, and cost of living adjustments. When they want more money, they ask for raises or look for higher-paying positions. Their financial destiny rests in the hands of bosses, companies, and economic conditions. This creates a perpetual state of financial anxiety because their security depends entirely on factors they cannot influence. The millionaire mindset operates from a completely different foundation. Instead of trading time for money, the wealthy think in terms of creating value and building systems. They understand that their income has no ceiling because it's tied to the problems they solve and the value they provide to others. Rather than asking, "How can I earn more per hour?" they ask, "How can I create something that generates money while I sleep?" This shift in thinking changes everything. The employee sees obstacles and thinks about all the reasons why something won't work. The wealth builder sees the same obstacles and asks, "How can I turn this challenge into an opportunity?" When faced with problems, the employee complains and waits for someone else to fix things. The future millionaire sees problems as unmet needs in the marketplace and begins designing solutions. The employee mindset craves certainty and avoids risk at all costs. This seems logical on the surface, but it's actually the riskiest position of all. When you depend entirely on one source of income controlled by other people, you're completely vulnerable to their decisions. Companies downsize, industries change, and economic conditions shift. The employee who thought they were playing it safe suddenly discovers their security was an illusion. The wealth-building mindset embraces uncertainty as the natural state of opportunity. Instead of trying to eliminate risk, successful people learn to manage it and use it to their advantage. They understand that the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all. They diversify their income sources, create multiple streams of revenue, and build assets that appreciate over time. This actually provides far more security than any single job ever could. One of the most damaging aspects of employee thinking is the belief that there's not enough wealth to go around. This scarcity mindset makes people view others' success with resentment rather than inspiration. They believe that if someone else gets rich, there's less opportunity for everyone else. This creates a mental environment where wealth seems unfair, unattainable, or morally questionable. The abundance mindset recognizes that wealth is created, not taken from a finite pile. Every time someone builds a successful business, they create jobs, solve problems, and add value to society. Their success makes more opportunities available for others, not fewer. This understanding transforms how you view wealthy people from competitors, hoarding resources into teachers, showing you what's possible. Breaking free from employee thinking requires recognizing how deeply these patterns run in your daily life. Notice when you automatically look for the right answer instead of creating your own solution. Observe when you seek permission for things you could decide independently. Pay attention to how often you blame external circumstances for your situation instead of focusing on what you can control. The transformation begins when you start taking complete responsibility for your financial results. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for past outcomes, but rather acknowledging that your future wealth depends entirely on your decisions and actions going forward. No one else is going to make you rich. No company, government program, or inheritance will solve your financial challenges for you. This responsibility is actually liberating because it puts your destiny back in your hands. Start making decisions like a business owner, even while you still have a job. Look for ways to add value beyond what's required. Seek opportunities to solve problems rather than just completing assigned tasks. Begin thinking about how your skills could serve people outside your current workplace. This shift in perspective will reveal possibilities that were invisible when you thought like an employee. The wealthy understand that education never stops. While employees often view learning as something that happened in school, millionaires invest continuously in developing new skills and expanding their knowledge. They read books, attend seminars, find mentors, and study successful people in their field of interest. They understand that their earning ability is directly connected to their learning ability. Most importantly, the wealth-building mindset focuses on creating assets rather than just earning income. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket without requiring your direct time and effort. This could be a business system, investment property, royalty from creative work, or any other source of passive income. Employees work for money, but the wealthy make money work for them. The transition from employee to wealth builder doesn't happen overnight. These mental patterns took years to develop, and changing them requires patience and persistence. Start by questioning assumptions you've never examined before. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford that," change it to, "How can I afford that?" When facing a challenge, instead of thinking, "This is too hard," ask yourself, "How can I learn what I need to know?" The path to wealth begins in your mind long before it shows up in your bank account. Every millionaire started with the same 24 hours in their day and the same basic human capabilities you possess right now. The difference lies not in their circumstances, but in how they think about those circumstances. Your current financial situation is the result of your past thinking patterns. Your future wealth depends on the thinking patterns you choose to develop starting today. Breaking free from the employee mindset is like removing chains you didn't know you were wearing. Once these mental barriers dissolve, you'll see opportunities everywhere that were completely invisible before. The same world that seemed full of limitations suddenly becomes rich with possibilities for those who think like wealth builders rather than wage earners. 4. The power of your daily habits. Every millionaire started somewhere, and that somewhere was not with $1 million in their bank account. What separated those who built lasting wealth from those who remained trapped in financial struggle was not luck, connections, or even intelligence. It was the small, seemingly insignificant actions they took every single day that compounded over time into extraordinary results. Your daily habits are the invisible force shaping your financial destiny. Most people underestimate their power because the effects are not immediately visible. When you choose to spend an extra hour watching television instead of learning a valuable skill, nothing dramatic happens in that moment. Your bank account doesn't suddenly empty, and your dreams don't immediately crumble. But that single choice, repeated day after day, creates a pattern that leads you further away from wealth. Consider the wealthy people throughout history who built their fortunes from nothing. They understood that wealth is not created in moments of inspiration or through single acts of brilliance. Wealth is created through the consistent application of wealth-building habits, repeated so often they become automatic responses to daily situations. The habit of saving, even when you have very little, programs your mind to see money as something to be accumulated rather than immediately spent. When you consistently set aside even a small portion of your income, you are training yourself to live below your means. This creates a gap between what you earn and what you spend. And this gap is where wealth begins to grow. Many people believe they cannot save because they earn too little. This belief keeps them trapped in a cycle of financial struggle. The truth is that saving is not about the amount. It is about developing the mental discipline and creating the habit. Someone who saves $5 from a $100 income is building the same wealth-building muscle as someone who saves $500 from a $10,000 income. The habit of continuous learning transforms your earning potential over time. When you dedicate time each day to acquiring new knowledge or improving existing skills, You are investing in your most valuable asset, yourself. This investment pays dividends for the rest of your life. The person who reads for 30 minutes each day will consume dozens of books in a year, while the person who claims they have no time for reading will remain at the same level of knowledge and earning potential. Your relationship with money is largely determined by your daily money habits. How you handle small amounts of money reveals how you will handle larger amounts. If you are careless with dollars, you will be careless with thousands. If you treat every dollar with respect and make conscious decisions about how to use it, you are developing the mindset and skills necessary to manage significant wealth. The habit of tracking your money creates awareness that leads to better financial decisions. Most people have no idea where their money goes each month. They wonder why they struggle financially while remaining unconscious of their spending patterns. When you develop the habit of writing down every expense, you gain power over your money. You begin to see patterns, identify waste, and make adjustments that redirect money toward wealth-building activities. Wealthy people develop the habit of thinking before spending. They pause and ask themselves whether each purchase moves them closer to or further from their financial goals. This simple habit, practiced consistently, prevents the countless small expenditures that drain resources without providing real value. The money saved from these avoided purchases becomes available for investments and opportunities that create wealth. The habit of seeking value in every transaction builds wealth over time. Instead of automatically choosing the cheapest option or the most convenient option, wealthy people evaluate purchases based on long-term value. They understand that sometimes spending more initially saves money over time, and sometimes spending less allows them to allocate resources more effectively. Your daily work habits directly impact your financial future. The person who arrives early, stays focused, and delivers excellent results consistently will create more opportunities for advancement and increased income. These habits signal to others that you are reliable and valuable, leading to better positions, higher pay, and more opportunities to build wealth. The habit of maintaining and improving your possessions rather than constantly replacing them keeps more money in your pocket. When you take care of what you own, it lasts longer and performs better. This habit extends to everything from your clothing to your vehicle to your home. The money not spent on premature replacements can be directed toward investments that generate passive income. Developing relationships through daily interactions creates opportunities that lead to wealth. The habit of treating everyone with respect, showing genuine interest in others, and looking for ways to provide value builds a network of people who may become customers, partners, or sources of opportunities. Wealth is rarely built in isolation. It grows through relationships and connections formed through consistent positive interactions. The habit of delayed gratification is perhaps the most powerful, wealth-building habit of all. When you consistently choose long-term benefits over immediate pleasures, you are exercising the mental muscle that creates millionaires. This habit shows up in small decisions every day. Choosing to prepare a meal at home instead of ordering delivery. Walking or using public transportation instead of taking expensive rides. Or repairing something instead of replacing it. Your daily habits around health and energy directly impact your wealth-building capacity. When you maintain your physical and mental health through good habits, you have more energy to pursue opportunities, think clearly about financial decisions, and work effectively toward your goals. Poor health habits drain both your energy and your finances, creating a double burden that makes building wealth much more difficult. The habit of planning your day and your spending prevents waste and creates efficiency. When you know what you want to accomplish and what you plan to spend, you make better decisions throughout the day. Random decisions made without planning usually favor immediate gratification over long-term wealth building. Perhaps most importantly, you must develop the habit of patience and persistence. Wealth building is not exciting on a daily basis. Most days require you to make the same smart choices you made yesterday, with no dramatic results to show for it. The habit of continuing these wealth-building behaviors even when they seem to make no difference separates those who eventually become wealthy from those who give up and return to old patterns. Your current financial situation is the result of your past daily habits. Your future financial situation will be determined by the daily habits you choose to adopt starting today. The beautiful truth about habits is that they work for everyone who applies them consistently, regardless of their starting point, background, or current circumstances. The power to build wealth lies within your daily choices, and that power is available to you right now. 5. Shifting your money mindset. The way you think about money determines how much of it flows into your life. This fundamental truth separates those who build lasting wealth from those who struggle financially their entire lives. Your relationship with money was shaped long before you earned your first dollar, influenced by family conversations, cultural messages, and childhood observations about wealth and poverty. These early impressions created a set of beliefs that now govern your financial reality, often without your conscious awareness. Most people carry invisible barriers that prevent them from accumulating wealth. These mental obstacles manifest as limiting beliefs about money, success, and their own worthiness to receive abundance. Common thoughts like, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, or I wasn't born into wealth, create an internal resistance to financial prosperity. These beliefs act like a thermostat, automatically adjusting your financial circumstances to match your programmed comfort zone. The foundation of wealth building begins with examining and transforming your deep-seated beliefs about money. When you believe that money is scarce, you unconsciously make decisions that create scarcity in your life. When you believe that wealthy people are somehow different from you, you sabotage opportunities that could lead to prosperity. When you believe that having money makes you greedy or corrupt, you push away the very thing you claim to want. Wealthy people understand that money is simply a tool for creating value and solving problems. They view money as energy that flows to those who provide the most value to others. This perspective shift from scarcity to abundance changes everything about how they approach opportunities, relationships, and challenges. Instead of asking, "How can I get money?" they ask, "How can I create value for others in exchange for money?" Your current financial situation reflects your current money mindset with remarkable accuracy. If you constantly worry about bills, you attract more situations that justify financial worry. If you believe that making money requires tremendous sacrifice and struggle, you create circumstances that make earning money difficult and exhausting. If you think wealthy people are lucky or dishonest, you block yourself from using the same principles and strategies that create wealth. The process of shifting your money mindset requires honest self-examination and consistent mental reprogramming. Start by identifying the specific beliefs you hold about money, wealth, and rich people. Pay attention to your automatic thoughts when you see expensive items, successful individuals, or financial opportunities. Notice the stories you tell yourself about why you can't have more money or why wealth isn't meant for people like you. Many people discover that they have conflicting beliefs about money that create internal tension and self-sabotage. They want more money while simultaneously believing that wanting money is wrong. They admire successful people while harboring resentment about wealth inequality. They dream of financial freedom while believing that money corrupts people. These contradictory beliefs create a push-pull dynamic that keeps them stuck in financial mediocrity. Transforming your money mindset involves replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones through repetition and evidence gathering. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't afford that," immediately replace it with, "How can I afford that?" When you notice jealousy toward wealthy individuals, shift to curiosity about their success strategies. When you feel guilty about wanting more money, remind yourself that having money allows you to help more people and create greater positive impact. The language you use when discussing money reveals and reinforces your underlying beliefs. Phrases like, "I'm broke," "Money is tight," or "I can't catch a break" program your subconscious mind to create more experiences that match these statements. Wealthy people speak about money differently, using phrases like, "I'm restructuring my finances," "I'm between opportunities," or "I'm building my wealth foundation." This subtle shift in language creates a different emotional and mental relationship with financial challenges. Your emotional response to money also indicates areas where mindset work is needed. Fear, anxiety, resentment, and guilt around money signal limiting beliefs that need attention. These emotions create energetic blocks that prevent money from flowing freely into your life. Learning to feel grateful for money, excited about financial opportunities, and confident in your ability to create wealth opens channels for increased prosperity. The practice of visualization becomes powerful when you can imagine having money without triggering negative emotions or limiting beliefs. Many people struggle to visualize wealth because their subconscious mind immediately presents reasons why such prosperity is impossible or undeserved. Working through these mental objections through repeated visualization sessions gradually expands your comfort zone around having money. Understanding that your current financial limitations are temporary and changeable creates hope and motivation for improvement. Every wealthy person started with a different relationship to money than they have today. They learn to see opportunities where others see problems, to take calculated risks instead of playing it safe, and to think in terms of abundance rather than scarcity. These mental skills can be developed by anyone willing to examine and upgrade their thinking patterns. The journey of mindset transformation requires patience, because beliefs that took years to form don't change overnight. However, as you consistently practice new ways of thinking about money, you begin to notice different opportunities, make different choices, and attract different results. Small shifts in perception lead to small changes in behavior, which compound over time into dramatically different financial outcomes. Your money mindset also influences how you relate to other people around money. Those with scarcity thinking often feel threatened by others' success or hesitant to discuss money openly. Those with abundance thinking celebrate others' prosperity and freely share financial knowledge and opportunities. This shift from competition to collaboration opens doors to partnerships, mentorships, and joint ventures that accelerate wealth building. The beliefs you hold about your own worthiness and capabilities form the deepest layer of your money mindset. If you don't believe you deserve prosperity, or doubt your ability to manage money wisely, you unconsciously sabotage financial progress. Building wealth requires developing unshakable confidence in your value, your potential, and your right to prosper. This inner work often proves more important than learning specific strategies or techniques for making money. As your money mindset evolves, you naturally begin making different financial decisions. You invest in learning instead of just consuming. You focus on building assets instead of accumulating liabilities. You think long-term instead of seeking immediate gratification. These behavioral changes flow naturally from upgraded beliefs rather than requiring tremendous willpower or discipline. The transformation of your money mindset creates a new identity around wealth and success. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who struggles with money, you begin identifying as someone who naturally attracts and manages money well. This identity shift influences every financial decision and interaction, gradually aligning your external circumstances with your internal self-concept. The person you believe yourself to be ultimately determines the financial life you create. 6. The power of compound growth. Most people think wealth building is about making one big score, finding that magical investment, or striking it rich overnight. This mindset keeps them forever chasing the next get-rich-quick scheme, while missing the most powerful force in wealth creation that has been hiding in plain sight. The wealthy understand something that escapes the masses. Small, consistent actions compounded over time create extraordinary results that dwarf any single windfall. Imagine you could choose between receiving $1 million today or a single penny that doubles every day for 31 days. Your immediate instinct might be to grab the $1 million and run. After all, what could a penny possibly become? This is exactly how most people think, and it reveals why they remain trapped in financial mediocrity. Let me walk you through what actually happens with that penny. On day 1, you have 1 cent. Day 2 brings you 2 cents. By day 10, you would have accumulated just over $5, even halfway. Through the month, on day 15, you would possess only about $160. At this point, choosing the $1 million would seem like obvious wisdom. But something remarkable happens in the final stretch. By day 25, your penny has grown to over $100,000. Day 28 brings you over $1 million, finally matching the lump sum option. But remember, you still have 3 more days of doubling. When day 31 arrives, your penny has transformed into over $10 million. The power revealed here extends far beyond mathematics. It demonstrates how compound growth works in every area of wealth building. Your mind operates according to the same principle. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every relationship you nurture, builds upon all previous learning and connections. The knowledge you gain today makes tomorrow's learning more effective. The person you meet this week might introduce you to someone next month who changes your entire trajectory. Each positive action creates a foundation for future actions to build upon, generating results that multiply rather than simply add up. Most people abandon their efforts right before compound growth begins to accelerate. They plant seeds and expect immediate harvests. When results don't appear quickly, they conclude their approach isn't working and switch to something new. This pattern keeps them perpetually starting over, never allowing enough time for compounding to work its magic. The wealthy think differently about time. They plant seeds knowing the harvest comes later. They make investments understanding that the real returns appear after years, not months. They build relationships without immediate expectations, trusting that value will compound over time. This patience isn't passive waiting. It's active persistence combined with faith in the process. Consider how this applies to developing valuable skills. Learning to communicate effectively might not seem directly related to building wealth, but improved communication enhances every business relationship, negotiation, and opportunity that follows. The confidence gained from mastering one skill makes learning the next skill easier. Knowledge compounds upon itself, creating capabilities that generate increasing returns. The same principle governs reputation building. Each person you serve well becomes a reference for future opportunities. Every problem you solve honestly adds to your credibility. Small acts of integrity compound into a reputation that opens doors and creates trust. People with strong reputations find opportunities seeking them out rather than constantly chasing possibilities. Money itself demonstrates compound growth most clearly. When you consistently save and invest portions of your income, the returns begin generating their own returns. The money you saved last year earns money this year without any additional effort from you. That earning money then earns more money next year. Time transforms your money into an army of workers laboring on your behalf around the clock. The challenge lies in maintaining consistency when results seem insignificant. The early stages of any compounding process appear almost worthless. Saving $50 per month might seem pointless when your goal is financial freedom. Reading for 30 minutes daily might feel insignificant when you need extensive knowledge. Making one new professional contact each week might seem inadequate when you need a strong network. Doubt creeps in during these early stages because linear thinking dominates most minds. We expect efforts to produce proportional results immediately. When we work twice as hard, we expect twice the results. When we invest twice as much time, we want twice the progress. Compound growth defies this logic by producing minimal results initially, then explosive growth later. Understanding this pattern helps you persist through the difficult early phases. Every wealthy person has experienced the frustration of working diligently while seeing little immediate progress. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit lies in their faith in the compound growth process. They continue taking consistent action even when results seem disappointing. Consistency beats intensity when it comes to compound growth. Working moderately hard for 10 years produces better results than working extremely hard for 2 years, then burning out. The person who reads 1 book per month for a decade accumulates more knowledge and wisdom than someone who reads 50 books in 6 months, then stops. Small actions performed consistently over long periods create momentum that becomes unstoppable. The compound effect extends beyond individual efforts to include the people surrounding you. When you consistently associate with ambitious, positive people, their attitudes and habits gradually influence your thinking and behavior. Their connections become your connections. Their opportunities create opportunities for you. The compound effect of relationships often produces the most dramatic wealth-building results. Your environment also compounds its influence over time. Living below your means for several years creates financial cushion that enables you to take calculated risks. These risks, taken from a position of strength rather than desperation, tend to produce better results. Success builds confidence, which leads to bigger opportunities, creating an upward spiral. The wealthy protect their compound growth carefully. They avoid actions that reset their progress to zero. They don't abandon successful strategies for unproven alternatives. They resist the temptation to spend money that could continue compounding. They maintain relationships rather than burning bridges for short-term gains. Compound growth requires patience, but it rewards that patience magnificently. The person who understands this principle gains a tremendous advantage over those who don't. While others chase quick fixes and immediate gratification, you can focus on building systems and taking actions that will compound over time. Start looking for compound growth opportunities in your current situation. What small action could you take consistently that would build upon itself? What skill could you develop gradually that would enhance all your future endeavors? What relationships could you nurture that might open unexpected doors? What portion of your income could you redirect from consumption to investment? The magic of compound growth transforms ordinary people into millionaires. It requires no special talent, connections, or luck. It demands only consistency, patience, and faith in the process. Every day you delay starting is a day of potential compound growth lost forever. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. 7. The compound effect of daily disciplines. Most people live their lives waiting for the big moment, the grand opportunity, or the stroke of luck that will transform their financial situation overnight. They search for shortcuts, quick fixes, and magical formulas that promise instant wealth. However, the truth about building lasting wealth lies not in dramatic moments, but in the quiet power of daily disciplines consistently applied over time. The compound effect is one of the most powerful forces available to anyone seeking financial independence, yet it remains largely misunderstood and underutilized. This principle works like a river that starts as a small stream in the mountains. At first, the water trickles slowly, seemingly insignificant. But as it flows day after day, it carves through solid rock, creates vast canyons, and eventually becomes a mighty force capable of moving mountains. Your daily financial disciplines work in exactly the same way. Consider the simple act of saving a small amount each day. When you save $5 today, it seems almost meaningless in the context of building wealth. But when you save $5 every single day for a year, you have accumulated over $1,800. Continue this discipline for 5 years, and you have saved over $9,000, not including any growth from wise placement of these funds. The magic happens not because $5 is a large amount, but because the consistent action compounds over time. The wealthy understand that small actions, repeated consistently, create extraordinary results. They know that reading 15 minutes each day about money and business will, over the course of a year, provide them with knowledge equivalent to several complete books on wealth building. They understand that walking past an expensive coffee shop each morning instead of making an impulse purchase saves them money that can be redirected toward their wealth-building goals. Your daily disciplines become the foundation upon which your entire financial future rests. Just as a building requires a solid foundation to reach great heights, your wealth requires the solid foundation of consistent daily practices. These practices might seem boring or insignificant in the moment, but they create the bedrock of financial success. The beauty of the compound effect lies in its democratic nature. It works for everyone, regardless of their starting point, education level, or background. Whether you begin with nothing or with something, the compound effect amplifies your efforts over time. It does not discriminate based on age, gender, or social status. It simply responds to consistency and time. However, the compound effect works in both directions. Just as positive daily disciplines compound to create wealth, negative daily habits compound to create financial struggle. The person who spends a few extra dollars each day on unnecessary items will find that these small expenditures add up to significant amounts over time. The individual who consistently spends slightly more than they earn will discover that this pattern compounds into serious financial problems. This dual nature of compounding means that every daily choice carries weight far beyond its immediate impact. When you choose to save instead of spend, to learn instead of being entertained, to invest in your future instead of consuming in the present, you are setting in motion forces that will work in your favor for years to come. Conversely, when you choose immediate gratification over long-term benefit, you set in motion forces that work against your financial well-being. The challenge most people face with daily disciplines is their invisibility in the short term. When you save money today, you do not immediately see dramatic changes in your financial situation. When you invest time in learning about money and wealth building, you do not instantly become wealthy. This lack of immediate visible results causes many people to abandon their positive disciplines before they have time to compound into significant results. Successful wealth builders develop the ability to see beyond the immediate moment. They cultivate faith in the process, understanding that their daily actions are like seeds planted in fertile soil. Though the seeds may not sprout immediately, consistent care and patience will eventually produce a harvest far greater than what was originally planted. Creating effective daily disciplines requires careful consideration of your current habits and intentional design of new patterns. Start by examining how you currently spend your time and money each day. Look for small areas where you can make positive changes without dramatically disrupting your life. The key is to choose disciplines that you can maintain consistently over long periods, rather than trying to make massive changes that you cannot sustain. One powerful daily discipline is the practice of paying yourself first. Before you pay any bills or make any purchases, set aside a predetermined amount for your wealth-building fund. This amount does not need to be large, but it must be consistent. Whether you can afford to save $1 a day or $50 a day is less important than the consistency of the practice. The habit of putting your financial future first creates a foundation upon which all other wealth-building activities can rest. Another valuable daily discipline is continuous learning. Commit to spending a specific amount of time each day expanding your knowledge about money, business, and wealth building. This might involve reading books, listening to educational programs, or studying the habits and strategies of successful people. The knowledge you gain through consistent daily learning will compound over time, providing you with insights and opportunities that would never be available to you otherwise. The practice of mindful spending represents another crucial daily discipline. Before making any purchase, pause and consider whether this expenditure moves you closer to or further from your wealth-building goals. This moment of conscious consideration helps you distinguish between wants and needs, between impulse purchases and thoughtful investments in your future. Tracking your financial progress daily creates awareness and motivation that supports all your other wealth-building disciplines. When you monitor your savings, investments, and overall financial position on a daily basis, you remain connected to your goals and can quickly identify areas that need attention or adjustment. This awareness helps you make better financial decisions throughout each day. The compound effect extends beyond money into all areas of your life that impact your wealth-building potential. Daily disciplines related to your health ensure that you have the energy and stamina needed to pursue financial opportunities. Daily disciplines related to your relationships help you build the network of connections that often leads to business, opportunities, and partnerships. Daily disciplines related to your personal development expand your capabilities and increase your value in the marketplace. The compound effect requires patience and persistence. In a world that increasingly values speed and instant gratification, the slow and steady approach of compounding daily disciplines may seem outdated or insufficient. However, this perception is exactly what creates opportunities for those wise enough to embrace this timeless principle. While others chase quick fixes and shortcuts that rarely lead to lasting wealth, you can be building a solid foundation through consistent daily actions. The wealthy did not become wealthy through a single dramatic event. They became wealthy through the accumulated impact of thousands of small, wise decisions made day after day, year after year. Your journey to financial independence follows the same path. Each day, through your disciplines and choices, you are either building wealth or preventing it. The compound effect ensures that these daily choices will ultimately determine your financial destiny. 8. The power of compound interest. There exists a force in the world of money so powerful that it has been called the eighth wonder of the world. This force works silently, relentlessly, and with mathematical precision to either create tremendous wealth or devastating debt. It cares nothing for your social status, education, or background. It operates by immutable laws that have governed wealth creation for centuries. This force is compound interest, and understanding its power will transform how you think about money forever. Imagine planting a single seed in fertile soil. At first, nothing appears to happen. Days pass, perhaps weeks, with little visible progress. Then, a small sprout emerges. Still, the growth seems insignificant. But beneath the surface, an intricate root system is developing, drawing nutrients and establishing the foundation for explosive growth. Suddenly, the plant begins to grow faster. Branches multiply, leaves spread, and what was once a tiny seed becomes a mighty tree. This is precisely how compound interest works with your money. Most people think about money in terms of addition. They believe that saving $10 each month for 10 years will result in $1,200. While this arithmetic is correct, it represents only linear thinking about wealth. The truly wealthy understand that money grows through multiplication, not addition. When you put money to work earning returns, and then put those returns to work earning more returns, you harness the exponential power that separates the wealthy from the merely comfortable. Consider the profound difference between simple interest and compound interest. With simple interest, you earn returns only on your original investment. If you invest $100 at 10% simple interest annually, you earn $10 each year. After 10 years, you would have $200. This represents the way most people think about money growth. However, with compound interest, you earn returns not only on your original investment, but also on all the returns that investment has generated. That same $100 at 10% compound interest becomes nearly $260 after 10 years. The difference becomes even more dramatic over longer periods. The mathematical beauty of compounding becomes truly apparent when you extend the timeline. That same $100, compounding at 10% annually, becomes over $1,700 after 30 years. After 40 years, it transforms into over $4,500. The money appears to grow faster and faster as time passes, not because the rate of return increases, but because there is progressively more money working to generate returns. This acceleration happens because of what mathematicians call exponential growth. In the early years, the absolute dollar amounts added by compound interest appear small and insignificant. Many people become discouraged during this phase because the progress seems painfully slow. They abandon their wealth-building efforts just when the mathematical forces are beginning to gain momentum. This is why patience and persistence are not just virtues in wealth building, but absolute necessities. Understanding compound interest requires grasping the relationship between time, rate of return, and consistency. Time is the most critical factor because compound interest needs duration to work its magic. The difference between starting to build wealth at age 25 versus age 35 is not just 10 years of contributions. It is 10 years of compound growth on potentially decades of accumulated wealth. Those 10 years can literally represent hundreds of thousands of dollars in final wealth accumulation. The rate of return, while important, is often less significant than people imagine. Many people spend enormous energy trying to find investments that return 15 or 20% annually, when they should focus on finding consistent returns of 8 to 12% over long periods. A consistent 8% return will create more wealth than sporadic returns that average 12% but include significant losses. Compound interest works best with steady, reliable growth rather than dramatic ups and downs. Consistency in adding money to your wealth-building efforts multiplies the power of compound interest tremendously. When you regularly add new money to investments that are already compounding, you create multiple streams of exponential growth. Each contribution begins its own compounding journey, while previous contributions continue growing. This creates a snowball effect where your wealth accumulates at an increasingly rapid pace. The wealthy understand that compound interest works in two directions. Just as it can create wealth when you invest money, it destroys wealth when you owe money. Credit card debt, personal loans, and other high-interest obligations use the same mathematical principles to erode your financial foundation. A credit card balance of $5,000 at 18% interest becomes over $23,000 if left unpaid for 10 years. This is compound interest working against you with the same relentless efficiency it could work for you. This dual nature of compounding explains why eliminating high-interest debt must be your first priority before building wealth. Every dollar you pay in interest is a dollar that could have been compounding in your favor for decades. The opportunity cost of debt extends far beyond the interest payments themselves. It includes all the compound growth those dollars could have generated over your lifetime. Many people fail to harness compound interest because they focus on complex investment strategies when they should focus on the fundamental principles of time, consistency, and patience. They seek shortcuts and quick returns when the greatest wealth-building force in existence requires exactly the opposite approach. Compound interest rewards those who start early, contribute regularly, and wait patiently while mathematical forces work on their behalf. The practical application of compound interest begins with changing how you think about money. Instead of viewing money as something to be spent, begin seeing it as seeds to be planted. Every dollar you invest is a seed that will grow into multiple dollars over time. The earlier you plant these seeds and the more consistently you plant them, the larger your financial forest will become. Start where you are with what you have. If you can only invest $25 per month, begin there. $25 monthly, earning 8% annually, becomes over $75,000 after 30 years. This might not seem like a fortune, but it demonstrates that you need large sums to begin building wealth. You need time, consistency, and the patience to let compound interest work. As your income grows, increase your investments proportionally. The habit of regular investing is more important initially than the amount invested. Once you establish the habit and witness compound interest beginning to work, you will naturally find ways to invest more. The psychological impact of watching your money grow through compound interest becomes a powerful motivator for increasing your wealth-building efforts. Compound interest is not limited to traditional investments. Any situation where your returns generate additional returns creates compounding effects. This includes reinvesting profits from a business, using rental income to purchase additional properties, or developing skills that increase your earning capacity over time. The principle remains the same regardless of the specific application. The power of compound interest transforms ordinary people into millionaires through the patient application of mathematical principles that have governed wealth creation throughout history. It requires no special knowledge, connections, or circumstances. It demands only that you begin, remain consistent, and allow time to work in your favor. This is the closest thing to magic in the world of money, and it is available to anyone willing to plant seeds today for a harvest that will feed them for a lifetime. 9. The compound effect of small actions. The path to wealth is not paved with grand gestures or miraculous overnight transformations. Instead, it is built through the quiet power of small, consistent actions that accumulate over time into extraordinary results. This principle, known as the compound effect, represents one of the most profound truths about building lasting prosperity from nothing. Most people seeking wealth make the mistake of looking for dramatic breakthroughs or life-changing moments. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the ideal moment to begin, or the grand plan that will catapult them to success. Meanwhile, those who truly understand wealth creation are busy taking small, seemingly insignificant steps every single day. They understand that wealth is not an event, but a process, not a destination, but a journey of continuous forward movement. Consider the simple act of setting aside a small portion of your earnings each day. To most people, saving 50 cents or $1 seems almost pointless. They dismiss such amounts as insignificant, believing that such small sums cannot possibly make a meaningful difference in their financial future. Yet this thinking reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how wealth actually accumulates. That single dollar, when saved consistently and allowed to grow, becomes the foundation upon which financial freedom is built. The compound effect works because small improvements and small actions, when repeated consistently over time, create momentum that builds upon to itself. Each small step forward makes the next step easier and more effective. Each small gain provides the foundation for larger gains. This is why the wealthy often appear to accumulate money with increasing ease as time passes. They are not simply earning more money, they are benefiting from the accumulated power of years of small, consistent actions. The beauty of small actions lies not only in their cumulative power, but also in their accessibility. Anyone can take small steps. Anyone can make minor adjustments to their daily habits. Anyone can choose to do something slightly different today than they did yesterday. Small actions require no special resources, no exceptional circumstances, and no permission from others. They are available to everyone, regardless of their current situation or starting point. When you commit to taking small actions consistently, you begin to develop what successful people understand as the success habit. This habit transforms your relationship with progress itself. Instead of viewing success as something that happens to you, you begin to understand success as something you create through your daily choices and actions. This shift in perspective is profound because it places the power to create wealth directly in your hands where it belongs. The compound effect applies not only to money but to every aspect of wealth building. Small improvements in your knowledge compound into expertise. Small expansions of your network compound into valuable relationships and opportunities. Small enhancements to your skills compound into increased earning potential. Small acts of service compound into a reputation that opens doors. Every area of your life can benefit from the power of consistent, small improvements. One of the most important aspects of understanding compound growth is recognizing that the early stages often appear to produce minimal results. This is where most people give up. They plant seeds through small actions, but abandon their efforts before the harvest arrives. They fail to understand that compound growth starts slowly and then accelerates dramatically. The early period of seemingly small returns is not evidence that the approach is not working. It is simply the natural pattern of how compound growth develops. Think of compound growth like planting an oak tree. In the first year, you might see only a small sapling. In the second year, perhaps a slightly larger sapling. For many years, the growth appears modest and unremarkable. Yet beneath the surface, an extensive root system is developing, creating the foundation for explosive growth that will come later. Eventually, that small sapling becomes a mighty oak that provides shade, beauty, and value for generations. The same pattern applies to wealth building through small actions. The key to harnessing the compound effect is to choose actions that are both small enough to be sustainable and significant enough to matter. If an action is too large or demanding, you will not be able to maintain it consistently over time. If an action is too small to have any impact, it will not contribute meaningfully to your progress. The sweet spot lies in finding actions that you can perform easily and consistently while still moving you forward toward your wealth-building goals. Consistency is the engine that powers the compound effect. Sporadic large efforts, while they may seem more impressive, cannot match the power of consistent small efforts over time. A person who saves large amounts occasionally will never accumulate as much wealth as someone who saves smaller amounts regularly. A person who learns intensively for short periods will never develop as much expertise as someone who learns a little bit every day. Consistency transforms small actions into powerful forces for change. The compound effect also works in reverse, which is why small negative actions can be so destructive over time. Small wasteful spending, small compromises in your standards, small delays in taking positive action can compound into significant setbacks. This is why successful people are often very careful about their small daily choices. They understand that every small action is either building their wealth or diminishing it. There is no neutral ground in the compound effect. To apply the compound effect to your wealth building, start by identifying small actions you can take daily that will contribute to your financial growth. These might include reading about money and wealth building, networking with one new person, improving a valuable skill, looking for ways to increase your income, or finding ways to reduce unnecessary expenses. The specific actions matter less than the consistency with which you perform them and their alignment with your wealth-building objectives. One powerful way to leverage small actions is to focus on activities that have multiplying effects. For example, learning a new skill might seem like a small action, but that skill could lead to increased earning potential for years to come. Building a relationship with one person might seem insignificant, but that relationship could open doors to opportunities you never imagined. Making one improvement to your work or service might seem minor, but it could lead to recognition, advancement, or new business prospects. The compound effect teaches us that we do not need to be exceptional to achieve exceptional results. We simply need to be consistent. We do not need perfect conditions to begin building wealth. We simply need to begin where we are with what we have. We do not need to wait for the right moment or the perfect plan. We simply need to take the next small step forward. The compound effect is always working, whether you are conscious of it or not. Every day, your small actions are either building momentum toward wealth or away from it. Every choice you make is either strengthening your financial foundation or weakening it. By becoming aware of this process and deliberately choosing small actions that serve your wealth-building goals, you harness one of the most reliable forces for creating prosperity from nothing. The wealthy understand that fortune favors not the bold alone, but the persistent. They know that small actions, performed with consistency and patience, will ultimately triumph over sporadic bursts of effort, no matter how intense. This understanding gives them the confidence to keep moving forward even when progress seems slow, knowing that the compound effect is working invisibly in their favor, building the wealth they seek, one small action at a time. 10. The power of compound effort. Most people understand the concept of compound interest when it comes to money, but few truly grasp the transformative power of compound effort in building wealth from nothing. Just as a small amount of money can grow exponentially over time through compound interest, your daily efforts and actions, when consistently applied, create a momentum that builds upon itself and eventually becomes unstoppable. Think of compound effort as planting seeds in a garden. At first, you see nothing but bare soil. Day after day, you water, tend, and nurture the ground with no visible results. Many give up during this seemingly fruitless period, convinced their efforts are worthless. But beneath the surface, powerful changes are taking place. Root systems are forming, nutrients are being absorbed, and the foundation for explosive growth is being established. When the breakthrough finally comes, it appears sudden and dramatic to outside observers, but you know it was the result of countless small, consistent actions. The same principle applies to wealth building. Every small effort you make today compounds with yesterday's efforts and amplifies tomorrow's potential. When you choose to learn one new skill instead of watching television, you're not just gaining knowledge for that moment, you're building your capacity to earn, to solve problems, and to see opportunities that others miss. When you save a small amount instead of spending it on something temporary, you're not just setting aside money, you're developing the discipline and mindset that will serve you when larger opportunities present themselves. The beauty of compound effort lies in its accessibility. You don't need special talents, connections, or resources to begin. You simply need to understand that small, consistent actions, repeated over time, create extraordinary results. This principle levels the playing field between those who start with advantages and those who begin with nothing. While natural talent or inherited wealth might provide a temporary head start, compound effort ultimately determines who builds lasting success. Consider the difference between someone who reads just 10 pages of a valuable book each day and someone who reads nothing. After 1 month, the reader has completed a 300-page book and gained new knowledge and perspectives. The non-reader has gained nothing and is exactly where they started. After 1 year, the reader has consumed 12 books worth of wisdom, insights, and strategies. The gap has grown significantly. After 10 years, the reader has absorbed 120 books worth of knowledge, developed critical thinking skills, and built a vast understanding of various subjects. The non-reader remains unchanged. This is compound effort in action. The same principle applies to every area of wealth building. Each conversation you have with someone in your field of interest compounds your network and knowledge. Each small risk you take builds your tolerance for larger opportunities. Each problem you solve increases your confidence and capability. Each relationship you nurture creates future possibilities you cannot yet imagine. These efforts seem insignificant in isolation, but they build upon each other in ways that eventually create dramatic breakthroughs. Most people underestimate the power of compound effort because they expect immediate, visible results. They work hard for a few days or weeks, see little change in their circumstances, and conclude their efforts are ineffective. This is like planting a tree and digging it up after a week because it hasn't grown tall enough. The impatience to see quick results prevents them from experiencing the exponential growth that comes after the compound effect reaches its tipping point. Understanding compound effort also helps you recognize that every day matters, even when you don't feel motivated or inspired. The days when you maintain your efforts despite not feeling like it are often the most valuable. These are the days when you're building the mental muscle that separates successful people from those who give up. Consistency during difficult times creates the foundation for explosive growth during favorable conditions. The compound effect works both positively and negatively. Just as positive actions build upon each other to create success, negative actions compound to create failure. Each time you choose comfort over growth, you're not just missing one opportunity. You're reinforcing a pattern that makes it easier to make the same choice tomorrow. Each time you spend money impulsively instead of saving or investing, you're not just losing that money. You're strengthening habits that will sabotage your wealth-building efforts repeatedly. This understanding should both motivate and soberly remind you that there are no neutral actions when it comes to building wealth. Every choice you make either compounds in your favor or works against your goals. The person who claims they'll start tomorrow is actually choosing to let negative compound effort work against them for one more day. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and before long, years have passed with the same promises and the same lack of results. The key to harnessing compound effort effectively is to focus on actions that may seem small but have the potential for significant long-term impact. Learning a new skill might not pay immediate dividends, but it could open doors to opportunities worth far more than the time invested. Building a relationship with someone might not provide instant benefits, but it could lead to partnerships, referrals, or insights that transform your financial future. Developing a reputation for reliability and excellence might not seem glamorous, but it creates trust that translates into ongoing opportunities. Compound effort also requires patience with yourself and the process. There will be periods when growth seems slow or non-existent. These plateau periods are normal and necessary parts of the journey. Just as a caterpillar must spend time in a cocoon before emerging as a butterfly, your efforts may seem to produce little visible change while profound transformations are occurring beneath the surface. Trust the process and maintain your consistency, knowing that breakthrough moments often come after extended periods of steady, unremarkable progress. The most successful wealth builders understand that compound effort is not about perfection. It's about consistency over time. Missing one day of effort doesn't derail the compound effect, but missing one day and then using it as an excuse to miss more days can interrupt the momentum you've built. When you have setbacks, acknowledge them quickly and return to your consistent efforts immediately. The compound effect is forgiving of occasional lapses, but ruthless toward extended periods of inaction. As you apply compound effort to your wealth-building journey, remember that the effects accelerate over time. The first year of consistent effort produces modest results. The second year builds upon the first and creates greater momentum. By the fifth year, the compound effect becomes clearly visible to others. By the 10th year, your accumulated efforts have created opportunities and capabilities that seem almost magical to those who haven't witnessed the daily discipline that created them. The power of compound effort transforms ordinary people into millionaires, not through dramatic, once-in-a-lifetime events, but through the steady accumulation of knowledge, skills, relationships, and wise decisions. When you truly understand this principle and apply it consistently, you discover that building wealth from nothing is not only possible, but inevitable. The only variables are how long you're willing to stay consistent and how much effort you're willing to compound along the way. 11. The power of compound growth. There exists a force so powerful in the realm of wealth building that those who understand it early in life gain an almost unfair advantage over those who discover it late. This force operates silently, invisibly, and with mathematical precision. It requires no special talent, no connections, and no luck. It demands only time, patience, and the wisdom to let it work. This force is compound growth, and mastering its principles will transform your financial destiny. Compound growth is often called the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. Unlike simple growth, where your gains remain flat and predictable, compound growth creates an exponential curve that starts slowly but eventually rockets skyward. The wealthy understand this principle intimately, while those who struggle financially often ignore it entirely, focusing instead on quick fixes and immediate gratification. To understand compound growth, imagine planting a seed. In the beginning, nothing appears to happen. You water it, tend to it, and yet the ground remains bare for what seems like an eternity. Then, one day, a tiny green shoot emerges. Still, progress appears painfully slow. But as the plant grows, each new leaf enables it to capture more sunlight, each new root allows it to absorb more nutrients, and each new branch creates space for more leaves. The growth feeds on itself, creating an accelerating cycle that eventually produces a mighty tree. Your wealth follows this exact same pattern. When you first begin building your financial foundation, progress feels insignificant. You might save a small amount each month, invest modest sums, or reinvest profits from a small business venture. The numbers seem trivial, and the temptation to abandon your efforts grows strong. However, those who persist through this seemingly barren period discover that their patience eventually pays extraordinary dividends. The mathematics of compound growth reveal why time becomes your greatest ally. When you earn a return on your initial amount, that return gets added to your principal. The following period, you earn returns not just on your original amount, but on your original amount plus all previous returns. This creates a snowball effect that grows larger and faster with each passing year. Consider two people who understand this principle differently. The first person begins building wealth at age 25, setting aside a modest amount each month for 10 years, then stops contributing entirely. The second person waits until age 35 to begin, but contributes the same monthly amount for the next 30 years, right up until retirement. Despite the second person contributing for 3 times as long and depositing significantly more money in total, the first person often ends up with more wealth at retirement. This counterintuitive result demonstrates the extraordinary power of giving compound growth more time to work. The secret lies in understanding that compound growth accelerates over time. The first few years produce modest results, but as your base grows larger, the same percentage returns produce dramatically larger absolute gains. What might take you years to accumulate in the beginning can be earned in a single good year once your wealth reaches a certain size. This is why wealthy people often seem to accumulate money faster and faster as time passes. However, compound growth extends far beyond financial returns. Every skill you develop, every relationship you build, and every piece of knowledge you acquire can compound in value. A small investment in learning today pays dividends for decades. A single, meaningful relationship can open doors to opportunities you never imagined. The expertise you develop in one area often transfers to others, creating unexpected synergies that multiply your capabilities. The wealthy apply compound thinking to all aspects of their wealth building. They choose opportunities not just for immediate returns, but for their potential to create ongoing benefits. They build businesses that can operate and grow without their constant presence. They develop systems that improve automatically over time. They create value that continues generating returns long after their initial effort. Understanding compound growth also changes how you view setbacks and fluctuations. When you truly grasp the long-term nature of wealth building, temporary downturns become less frightening and more manageable. You recognize that short-term volatility is simply part of the process, and that staying committed to your long-term strategy matters more than reacting to immediate circumstances. The psychology of compound growth presents unique challenges. Human beings are naturally wired to seek immediate gratification and visible progress. When results come slowly at first, doubt creeps in. You might question whether your strategy is working, compare yourself to others who appear to be succeeding faster, or abandon your approach in favor of something that promises quicker results. These psychological traps derail more wealth-building journeys than any external obstacle. Successful wealth builders develop the mental discipline to stay focused on long-term compound growth even when progress seems slow. They celebrate small victories, track their progress carefully, and remind themselves regularly of their long-term vision. They understand that the most dramatic growth often comes after years of apparently modest results, and they position themselves to benefit from this acceleration. The power of compound growth also explains why consistency matters more than intensity. Making regular, modest contributions to your wealth building creates better long-term results than sporadic large efforts. The person who saves a small amount every month for 20 years typically accumulates more wealth than someone who makes irregular large deposits. Consistency keeps the compounding engine running smoothly, while irregular efforts create gaps that reduce the overall effect. This principle applies equally to business building. Small, consistent improvements in your products, services, or operations compound over time into significant competitive advantages. Daily efforts to build customer relationships result in a loyal base that generates ongoing referrals and repeat business. Regular investment in your skills and knowledge creates expertise that becomes increasingly valuable as it accumulates. The wealthy also understand that compound growth works in reverse when applied to debt and negative behaviors. Just as positive actions compound to create beneficial results, negative financial decisions compound to create increasingly difficult situations. This is why eliminating high-interest debt becomes such a priority for serious wealth builders. The same mathematical force that can make you wealthy will keep you poor if it's working against you instead of for you. To harness compound growth effectively, you must first commit to a long-term perspective. Wealth building is not a sprint but a marathon, and the rewards go to those who can maintain their pace over extended periods. This requires developing patience, discipline, and faith in the process, even when immediate results seem disappointing. You must also start immediately, regardless of how small your beginning might be. The cost of waiting. Even a few years can be enormous when compound growth is involved. Time is the essential ingredient that cannot be recovered, and every year you delay is a year of compounding you can never reclaim. Most importantly, you must trust the process and resist the urge to constantly change strategies in search of better results. Compound growth requires consistency to reach its full potential. Those who jump from one approach to another, always seeking the next big opportunity, never give any single strategy enough time to compound into meaningful wealth. The power of compound growth transforms ordinary people into millionaires through the simple application of mathematics, time, and patience. It requires no special talents or extraordinary circumstances, only the wisdom to begin early, the discipline to stay consistent, and the faith to trust in its inevitable results. Those who master this principle discover that building substantial wealth becomes not a matter of if, but when. 12. The power of compound effort. Most people understand the mathematical concept of compound interest, where money grows exponentially over time as earnings generate their own earnings. However, few grasp the equally powerful principle of compound effort and how it applies to building wealth from nothing. Just as a small amount of money can grow into a fortune through consistent compounding, small, consistent efforts in your wealth-building activities can produce extraordinary results that seem almost magical to outside observers. The beauty of compound effort lies in its deceptive simplicity. When you first begin applying consistent effort toward your financial goals, the results appear modest, even insignificant. You might spend an hour each day learning a new skill, making one additional sale call, or improving your craft by a small margin. To the casual observer, these efforts seem almost pointless, because the immediate returns are so small. This is precisely why most people abandon their wealth-building efforts before the magic of compounding takes hold. Consider the ancient story of the wise man who asked a king for payment in rice, requesting just 1 grain for the first square of a chessboard, 2 grains for the second square, 4 grains for the third, and so on, doubling the amount for each subsequent square. The king, thinking this was a modest request, quickly agreed. By the time they reached the final square, the amount of rice required would have been more than all the rice in the entire kingdom. This illustrates the incredible power of exponential growth, which applies just as strongly to your daily efforts as it does to mathematical calculations. When you commit to improving your financial situation through consistent daily actions, you set in motion forces that work beyond your immediate awareness. Each day that you practice your craft, you become slightly better. Each conversation you have with a potential customer or client builds your confidence, refines your approach. Each book you read about wealth building adds another tool to your mental toolkit. These improvements may seem negligible day by day, but they accumulate in ways that create dramatic changes over time. The compound effect of effort manifests differently than compound interest because human development is not purely mathematical. When you consistently work on developing your abilities, you do not just add to your existing skills, you multiply them. A salesperson who improves their closing ability by 10% and their product knowledge by 10% does not become 20% better. They become dramatically more effective because these skills work together synergistically. Their enhanced product knowledge makes their improved closing skills more powerful, and their better closing ability makes their product knowledge more valuable. This multiplication effect extends to every aspect of wealth building. As you develop better communication skills, your ability to network improves exponentially. As your network grows, opportunities multiply at an increasing rate. As you seize more opportunities, your experience and judgment improve, leading to even better decision-making. Each element strengthens the others, creating a spiral of improvement that accelerates your progress toward financial independence. Understanding compound effort also helps explain why some people seem to achieve success quickly, while others struggle for years without significant progress. Those who appear to experience overnight success have typically been applying consistent effort for much longer than observers realize. They planted seeds through small daily actions, nurtured them with persistent attention, and waited patiently for the harvest. When their success finally becomes visible to the world, it appears sudden, but it actually represents the culmination of countless small efforts compounded over time. The key to harnessing compound effort lies in consistency rather than intensity. Many people make the mistake of working extremely hard for short periods, then burning out and abandoning their efforts entirely. This approach prevents the compounding effect from taking hold because it lacks the steady, persistent application that creates exponential growth. It is far better to commit to modest daily improvements that you can maintain indefinitely than to exhaust yourself with unsustainable bursts of activity. Your wealth-building efforts compound most effectively when they become habitual rather than requiring constant willpower. When you establish routines that automatically move you toward your financial goals, you eliminate the daily decision-making that can derail your progress. A person who automatically reads about their field for 30 minutes each morning, makes 5 prospecting calls each afternoon, and reviews their financial progress each evening will compound their wealth-building efforts without constant struggle or motivation. The compound effect also applies to the relationships you build throughout your wealth-building journey. Each person you meet genuinely and help in some way becomes part of your expanding network. As your reputation for reliability and value grows, people begin referring opportunities to you automatically. These referrals lead to new relationships, which generate additional referrals, creating an ever-expanding web of connections that multiplies your opportunities exponentially. Your learning and skill development compound in particularly powerful ways because knowledge and ability are permanent assets that continue generating returns indefinitely. Unlike physical assets that can depreciate or be lost, the capabilities you develop through consistent effort become part of who you are. Each skill you master makes learning the next skill easier. Each challenge you overcome increases your confidence for tackling larger challenges. Each success you achieve strengthens your belief in your ability to succeed again. The compound effect works even when you face temporary setbacks or failures. Each failure teaches you valuable lessons that prevent similar mistakes in the future. Each rejection helps you refine your approach. Each obstacle you overcome strengthens your persistence and problem-solving abilities. What appears to be backward movement often represents essential learning that accelerates your future progress. To maximize the compound effect in your wealth-building efforts, focus on activities that create lasting value rather than immediate gratification. Building relationships compounds more effectively than making quick sales. Developing skills compounds more powerfully than earning immediate income. Creating systems compounds more dramatically than handling individual tasks. Always ask yourself whether your current efforts will continue generating returns long into the future. Patience becomes crucial when relying on compound effort, because the most dramatic results occur after extended periods of consistent application. Just as compound interest produces its most impressive returns in the later years, compound effort creates its most remarkable transformations after you have been consistently applying it for months or years. Those who understand this principle persist through the early stages when progress seems slow, knowing that acceleration is inevitable if they maintain their consistency. The compound effect also explains why starting immediately, even with modest efforts, is so much more powerful than waiting until you can make larger efforts later. Time is the essential ingredient that allows compounding to work its magic. A person who begins with small, consistent efforts today will be far ahead of someone who waits a year to begin with larger efforts. The earlier starter benefits from an additional year of compounding, which can never be recovered by the late starter. Your commitment to compound effort must extend beyond just your primary wealth-building activities to encompass your entire approach to personal development. Compound your health through consistent, daily habits. Compound your wisdom through regular study and reflection. Compound your character through small daily choices that align with your values. All of these efforts work together to create the kind of person who naturally attracts wealth and success. Compound effort, like compound interest, appears to work slowly at first, then dramatically accelerates. Trust the process, maintain your consistency, and prepare to be amazed by the extraordinary results that emerge from ordinary daily efforts applied persistently over time. 13. The power of multiple income streams. The wealthy understand a fundamental truth that escapes most people. Relying on a single source of income is like building a house on one pillar. No matter how strong that pillar appears, if it falls, everything comes crashing down. The secret to lasting financial security lies in creating multiple streams of income that flow into your life from different directions, each one strengthening your overall financial foundation. When you observe those who have built substantial wealth from humble beginnings, you will notice a common pattern. They rarely depend on just one way of making money. Instead, they cultivate various income sources that work together, creating a web of financial security that becomes stronger with time. This approach not only protects you from unexpected setbacks, but also accelerates your journey toward true wealth. Think of income streams like rivers feeding into a lake. A single river might dry up during a drought, but multiple rivers ensure the lake remains full even when one or two run low. Your financial life operates on the same principle. When you have money coming from several different sources, you create stability that single income earners can never achieve. The beauty of multiple income streams lies not just in their security, but in their potential to compound upon each other. Each stream you develop teaches you new skills, introduces you to new people, and opens doors to opportunities you never would have encountered otherwise. The knowledge gained from one venture often becomes the foundation for another, creating a snowball effect that builds momentum over time. Many people resist this concept because they believe they lack the time or energy to pursue multiple ventures. They think success means putting all their effort into one basket and hoping it pays off. This thinking reflects a scarcity mindset that actually limits their potential. The truth is, diversifying your income sources often requires less total effort than trying to maximize a single source, because each stream can grow independently while you focus your active attention elsewhere. Consider the farmer who grows only corn. If disease strikes his crop or the market price falls, he faces disaster. But the wise farmer grows corn, raises cattle, tends fruit trees, and perhaps operates a small mill. If one venture struggles, the others continue producing. The same principle applies to building wealth. You want different types of income working for you simultaneously. Your first income stream might be your current work or trade. This provides the foundation and initial capital for building other streams. However, you must resist the temptation to rely solely on this source, no matter how reliable it seems. History is filled with people who thought their jobs were secure, only to find themselves scrambling when circumstances changed beyond their control. Your second stream might involve taking your existing skills and applying them in a different way. If you work with your hands, perhaps you could take on additional projects during your free time. If you have knowledge in a particular area, you might teach others or provide consultation. The key is leveraging what you already know while building something that operates independently from your primary work. Property represents one of the most reliable secondary income streams throughout history. Land and buildings provide shelter, which people always need. Whether you rent out a room in your home, purchase a small property to lease, or even rent out tools and equipment, physical assets can generate steady income with relatively little ongoing effort once properly established. Creating something of value that others want to buy represents another powerful income stream. This might involve making useful items, growing food, or providing services that solve problems for others. The beauty of this approach lies in its scalability. Start small, learn what works, then gradually expand as your skills and resources grow. Lending money at interest, when done wisely and legally, has created wealth for centuries. You can start small by helping others with short-term financial needs in exchange for reasonable compensation. As your capital grows, you can engage in larger lending opportunities that generate more substantial returns. Always remember that the preservation of your principal comes before the earning of interest. The key to successfully managing multiple income streams lies in understanding the difference between active and passive income. Active income requires your ongoing time and effort for each dollar earned. Passive income continues flowing even when you are not actively working. Your goal should be gradually shifting from active to passive streams, using the active income to build assets that generate passive returns. Start by mastering one additional income stream before adding another. Many people become overwhelmed trying to pursue too many opportunities simultaneously. Success comes from depth before breadth. Perfect your second income source until it runs smoothly, then add a third. This methodical approach prevents you from spreading yourself too thin while ensuring each stream receives the attention needed to flourish. Time management becomes crucial when developing multiple income streams. You must become efficient with your primary work to create time for secondary pursuits. This often means eliminating time-wasting activities and focusing intensely during your productive hours. The discipline required for this approach actually makes you more effective in all areas of life. Record-keeping grows increasingly important as you develop multiple income sources. You need clear systems for tracking the performance of each stream, understanding which ones provide the best returns on your time and investment. Simple records help you make informed decisions about where to focus your growth efforts. The mindset required for multiple income streams differs significantly from traditional employment thinking. Instead of trading time for money in a linear fashion, you begin thinking like an owner who builds systems that generate returns. This shift in perspective opens your mind to possibilities that employee-minded people never see. Risk actually decreases when you properly develop multiple income streams, despite what cautious people might tell you. Having all your income depend on one source means one problem can destroy your financial life. Spreading your income across several independent sources means problems in one area become manageable, inconveniences rather than disasters. The wealth-building potential of multiple income streams compounds over time. Each stream not only provides immediate income, but also teaches you skills and creates connections that lead to new opportunities. What starts as a small secondary income source might eventually become your primary wealth vehicle. Many fortunes began as side pursuits that gradually overshadowed the original income source. Your journey toward financial independence accelerates dramatically once you embrace this principle. Instead of hoping for raises or promotions from others, you take control of your financial destiny by creating multiple paths to prosperity. This approach requires more initial effort and learning, but it provides freedom and security that single income dependence can never match. The power of multiple income streams transforms you from someone who earns money into someone who attracts money from various directions. This transformation in your relationship with money marks the beginning of true wealth building, setting the foundation for the financial abundance you seek to create. 14. The power of leverage. Leverage is the great multiplier of wealth. It is the principle that allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results by using resources beyond their own immediate capabilities. When you understand and master leverage, you transform from someone who trades time for money into someone who builds systems that generate wealth while you sleep. Most people think of leverage only in terms of borrowed money, but this narrow view limits their potential. True, leverage encompasses far more than financial borrowing. It includes the leverage of other people's time, other people's knowledge, other people's networks, and other people's established systems. The wealthy understand that their own personal efforts, no matter how intense, can only take them so far. To build true wealth, they must learn to multiply their impact through various forms of leverage. Consider the fundamental difference between a highly paid professional and a wealthy business owner. The professional, no matter how skilled or well compensated, is limited by the number of hours they can work. Their income has a ceiling determined by their personal capacity. The business owner, however, has learned to leverage the time and efforts of others. They create systems where multiple people contribute to generating wealth, and the owner benefits from all of their combined efforts. This is the essence of leverage in action. The first form of leverage to master is the leverage of other people's time. Every successful wealth builder eventually realizes that there are only 24 hours in a day, and personal effort alone will never be enough to create substantial wealth. By hiring others, partnering with others, or creating systems that allow others to contribute their time to your wealth-building efforts, you multiply your capacity exponentially. The key is not to think of this as simply having employees, but rather as creating partnerships where everyone benefits from the collective effort. When you leverage other people's time effectively, you must provide them with something valuable in return. This might be money, experience, training, or opportunity. The most successful leverage arrangements are those where all parties feel they are gaining more than they are giving. This creates sustainable relationships that can grow over time. The person who tries to extract maximum value while giving minimum benefit will find that their leverage is short-lived and, ultimately, ineffective. Another powerful form of leverage is the leverage of other people's money. This is what most people think of when they hear the word leverage, but even here, many people have a limited understanding. Borrowing money to purchase appreciating assets or to fund profitable ventures can accelerate wealth building dramatically. However, this type of leverage requires careful consideration and thorough understanding of the risks involved. The key to using financial leverage successfully is to ensure that the return on your investment exceeds the cost of the borrowed money. If you can borrow money at 5% interest and invest it in something that returns 10%, you profit from the difference. However, this calculation must account for all risks, including the possibility that your investment might not perform as expected. Conservative use of financial leverage can be a powerful wealth-building tool, while reckless use can lead to financial ruin. Knowledge. Leverage is equally important but often overlooked. Instead of spending years learning everything yourself, you can leverage the knowledge and experience of others who have already mastered what you need to learn. This might involve hiring consultants, joining mastermind groups, or simply studying the methods of successful people in your field. The months or years you save by leveraging existing knowledge can be redirected toward wealth-building activities. The leverage of established systems and infrastructure represents another significant opportunity. Rather than building everything from scratch, look for ways to plug into existing systems that can amplify your efforts. This might mean using established distribution networks, existing customer bases, or proven business models. Franchising is one example of system leverage, where you pay for the right to use a proven business system rather than developing your own from the beginning. Technology provides numerous opportunities for leverage, though you must be careful not to become dependent on systems you do not understand or control. The basic principle is to use tools and systems that can multiply your efforts without requiring your constant personal attention. This might include automated processes, communication systems, or management tools that handle routine tasks while you focus on higher value activities. Network leverage is the power of relationships and connections. A strong network can provide opportunities, resources, and support that would be impossible to develop on your own. However, building network leverage requires a genuine commitment to providing value to others. The people who focus only on what they can get from their network find that their relationships become shallow and ultimately unhelpful. Those who consistently look for ways to help others discover that their network becomes a powerful source of opportunities and resources. Geographic leverage involves positioning yourself in locations or markets where your efforts can have maximum impact. This might mean operating in markets with less competition, lower costs, or greater opportunities. It could involve manufacturing in one location while selling in another, or living in an area with low costs while earning income from higher-paying markets. The key is to think strategically about how location can multiply your wealth-building efforts. Timing leverage is the ability to position yourself ahead of trends or cycles that can amplify your results. This requires developing an understanding of patterns and cycles in your chosen field or market. Those who can anticipate changes and position themselves accordingly often achieve results that seem disproportionate to their efforts. However, timing leverage requires patience and the ability to act when others are still hesitant. The most successful wealth builders learn to combine multiple forms of leverage. They might use other people's money to acquire assets, other people's time to manage those assets, and their network to find the best opportunities. This combination creates a multiplier effect, where each form of leverage enhances the others. Understanding leverage also means understanding its risks and limitations. Leverage amplifies both gains and losses. If your leveraged investments perform poorly, your losses will be magnified just as your gains would have been. This is why successful use of leverage requires careful planning, conservative assumptions, and adequate reserves to handle unexpected difficulties. The psychology of leverage is as important as the mechanics. Many people are uncomfortable with the idea of using other people's money or depending on other people's efforts. This discomfort often stems from a desire for complete control or fear of obligation to others. However, those who build substantial wealth learn to become comfortable with interdependence and shared benefit arrangements. Leverage is not about taking advantage of others or avoiding personal effort. Instead, it is about creating arrangements where your efforts are multiplied through combination with other resources. The most sustainable and profitable leverage arrangements are those where everyone involved benefits and feels fairly treated. Learning to use leverage effectively is a skill that develops over time. Start with small experiments where the risks are manageable and the principles are clear. As you gain experience and confidence, you can gradually increase your use of leverage to accelerate your wealth-building efforts. The goal is not to leverage everything, but to leverage strategically where it can provide the greatest benefit with acceptable risk. Mastering leverage transforms you from someone who earns money through personal effort alone into someone who builds wealth through the multiplication of resources and efforts. This transformation is essential for anyone who wants to build substantial wealth and achieve true financial independence. 15. The art of strategic partnerships. When you embark on the journey of building wealth from nothing, one of the most powerful tools at your disposal is the ability to form strategic partnerships. These relationships can accelerate your progress, open doors that would otherwise remain closed, and provide you with resources and knowledge that would take years to acquire on your own. The wealthy understand that success is rarely a solo endeavor, and they master the art of creating mutually beneficial relationships that serve all parties involved. A strategic partnership differs from casual business relationships or simple networking. It involves a deeper commitment where two or more parties combine their strengths, resources, and expertise to achieve goals that would be difficult or impossible to reach independently. These partnerships are built on trust, shared vision, and the understanding that everyone involved benefits from the arrangement's success. The foundation of any successful partnership begins with understanding what you bring to the table. Before you can effectively partner with others, you must clearly identify your unique value proposition. This might be your specialized knowledge, your network of contacts, your ability to execute ideas, your access to certain markets, or your particular skills. Even if you're starting with limited resources, you possess something of value. Perhaps you have time and energy that a busy, established person lacks. Maybe you have fresh perspectives, or are willing to handle tasks that others find tedious. Your youth, enthusiasm, or willingness to learn can be incredibly valuable to the right partner. When identifying potential partners, look for people or businesses whose strengths complement your weaknesses and whose needs align with what you can provide. The most powerful partnerships occur when each party brings something essential that the other lacks. For instance, if you have innovative ideas but lack experience in bringing products to market, partnering with someone who has established distribution channels and industry knowledge can be transformative. Conversely, if you have strong operational skills but struggle with creative vision, aligning with a visionary partner can unlock tremendous potential. Trust forms the cornerstone of every successful partnership. Without trust, even the most promising arrangements will crumble under pressure. Building trust requires consistent actions over time, transparent communication, and demonstrating reliability in small matters before tackling larger ones. Start by making and keeping small commitments. If you say you'll deliver something by a certain date, deliver it early. If you promise to make an introduction, follow through promptly. These seemingly minor actions build the foundation of trust that will support much larger endeavors. Successful partnerships require clear communication about expectations, responsibilities, and outcomes. Many promising relationships fail because parties make assumptions about what the other person expects or will contribute. Before entering any partnership, engage in honest conversations about what each person hopes to achieve, what they're willing to contribute, and how success will be measured. Discuss potential challenges and how you'll handle disagreements. These conversations might feel uncomfortable initially, but they prevent much larger problems down the road. The art of structuring partnerships involves creating arrangements where everyone wins, but not necessarily equally in every aspect. One partner might contribute more financial resources while another provides more time and effort. One might have their name featured more prominently while another receives a larger share of profits. The key is ensuring that each party feels the arrangement is fair based on their contributions and that everyone is motivated to see the partnership succeed. When approaching potential partners, focus on the value you can create together rather than what you hope to gain for yourself. People are naturally drawn to opportunities where they can see clear benefits, but they're repelled by those who seem primarily interested in what they can extract from the relationship. Present your partnership proposals in terms of shared goals and mutual benefit. Demonstrate that you've thought carefully about how the arrangement will help them achieve their objectives, not just your own. Long-term partnerships often evolve from smaller, initial collaborations. Rather than proposing major commitments right away, look for opportunities to work together on smaller projects or initiatives. These smaller engagements allow both parties to assess compatibility, work styles, and reliability without significant risk. They also provide opportunities to build the trust and understanding necessary for larger commitments. The most successful partnership builders are generous with credit and recognition. When partnerships succeed, make sure your partners receive appropriate acknowledgement for their contributions. This generosity not only strengthens current relationships, but also enhances your reputation as someone who values and appreciates others. Word spreads quickly about people who are fair and generous partners, just as it does about those who claim disproportionate credit or minimize others' contributions. Partnerships should be living arrangements that adapt as circumstances change. What works at the beginning of a relationship might need adjustment as businesses grow, markets shift, or personal situations evolve. Regular communication about how the partnership is working and whether adjustments are needed helps prevent small issues from becoming major problems. Be open to modifying arrangements when changes serve the partnership's overall success. Some partnerships are project-specific, while others evolve into long-term relationships that span multiple ventures. Both types have value, and understanding which type you're entering helps set appropriate expectations. Project-specific partnerships can be excellent ways to accomplish particular goals and assess compatibility for future collaborations. Long-term partnerships can provide ongoing support, shared resources, and accumulated trust that makes future projects easier to execute. The network effect of partnerships compounds their value over time. Each successful partnership not only achieves its immediate objectives, but also expands your network and reputation. Partners introduce you to their contacts, vouch for your reliability, and provide references for future opportunities. This expanding network creates a virtuous cycle, where each successful partnership makes future partnerships easier to establish and more likely to succeed. Cultural and personal compatibility plays a crucial role in partnership success. While partners don't need to be identical in their approaches or personalities, they need to share core values and have compatible working styles. Some people thrive in fast-paced, high-pressure environments, while others do their best work in more deliberate, methodical settings. Some prefer frequent communication and collaboration, while others work better with clear divisions of responsibility and periodic check-ins. Understanding these preferences and finding partners whose styles complement yours increases the likelihood of success. Geographic partnerships can provide access to markets, resources, and knowledge that would otherwise be unavailable. In our interconnected world, you can form valuable partnerships with people in different cities, regions, or even countries. These geographic partnerships are particularly valuable for accessing local knowledge, distribution networks, or market insights that would be difficult to obtain from a distance. Strategic partnerships extend beyond business relationships to include mentorship arrangements, informal advisory, relationships, and reciprocal support systems with peers. These various types of partnerships serve different functions in your wealth-building journey, and diversifying your partnership portfolio provides multiple sources of support, knowledge, and opportunity. The art of strategic partnerships requires patience, as the most valuable relationships often develop slowly over time. Focus on building genuine relationships rather than rushing toward immediate transactions. Invest time in understanding potential partners' goals, challenges, and preferences. Look for ways to provide value before asking for anything in return. This patient approach builds stronger foundations for long-term success and creates partnerships that endure through both good times and challenges. 16. The art of calculated risk-taking. Every wealthy person understands one fundamental truth: without risk, there can be no reward. Yet the difference between those who build lasting wealth and those who lose everything lies not in avoiding risk, but in learning to take calculated risks with wisdom and precision. The art of calculated risk-taking is perhaps the most crucial skill you can develop on your journey to becoming a millionaire. Most people live their entire lives avoiding risk at every turn. They choose the safe job, the guaranteed salary, the predictable path that promises security but delivers mediocrity. They mistake safety for wisdom and caution for intelligence. While their intentions are understandable, this approach virtually guarantees they will never achieve extraordinary wealth. True financial success requires stepping outside your comfort zone and embracing uncertainty, but doing so with careful planning and strategic thinking. The wealthy understand that all of life involves risk. Even the seemingly safe choice of keeping money in a savings account carries the risk of inflation eroding its value over time. Working for someone else carries the risk of being dismissed without warning. The question is never whether to take risks, but rather which risks are worth taking and how to manage them intelligently. Calculated risk-taking begins with education and preparation. Before making any significant financial decision, wealthy people gather as much information as possible. They study market conditions, analyze trends, seek advice from knowledgeable sources, and thoroughly understand what they are getting into. This preparation does not eliminate risk, but it allows them to make informed decisions rather than gambling blindly. Consider the difference between a gambler and a calculated risk-taker. A gambler bets money they cannot afford to lose on outcomes they cannot influence or predict. They rely on luck, emotion, and wishful thinking. A calculated risk-taker, on the other hand, only risks money they can afford to lose, focuses on situations where they have some degree of control or influence over the outcome, and bases their decisions on research and analysis rather than hope. One of the most important principles of calculated risk-taking is diversification. Wealthy people rarely put all their resources into a single venture, no matter how promising it appears. They spread their risk across multiple investments, businesses, or opportunities. This way, if one fails, they do not lose everything. The goal is not to avoid all losses, but to ensure that your wins are larger and more frequent than your losses. Another crucial aspect is understanding your risk tolerance. This involves both your financial capacity to handle losses and your emotional ability to withstand uncertainty and setbacks. Someone with substantial savings and multiple income streams can afford to take larger risks than someone living paycheck to paycheck. Similarly, some people naturally handle uncertainty better than others. Successful wealth building requires honest self-assessment and taking risks appropriate to your situation and temperament. Timing plays a vital role in calculated risk-taking. The same opportunity that could be highly profitable at one time might be disastrous at another. Wealthy people pay attention to cycles, trends, and market conditions. They understand that there are seasons for taking aggressive risks and seasons for being more conservative. They also recognize that sometimes the biggest risk is waiting too long and missing an opportunity entirely. The wealthy also understand the concept of asymmetric risk, situations where the potential upside is much larger than the potential downside. These are the most attractive opportunities because they offer the possibility of substantial gains while limiting potential losses. For example, starting a small business with minimal startup costs might only risk a few $1,000s, but could potentially generate millions in revenue. Learning to identify and pursue these asymmetric opportunities is a hallmark of successful wealth building. Risk management involves not just deciding which risks to take, but also planning for what happens if things go wrong. Wealthy people always have contingency plans. They consider various scenarios and prepare responses for each. They maintain emergency funds, keep their skills current, nurture their networks, and ensure they have multiple options available if their primary plan fails. One common mistake people make is taking risks with money they cannot afford to lose. This includes borrowing money to invest, using funds earmarked for essential expenses, or risking their family's security on speculative ventures. True calculated risk-taking means only risking surplus resources, money that, if lost, would not affect your ability to maintain your basic lifestyle or meet your obligations. The mindset surrounding risk is equally important. Many people are paralyzed by the fear of failure or loss. They focus so intensely on what could go wrong that they never take action on opportunities that could transform their lives. Wealthy people reframe risk as the price of opportunity. They accept that some ventures will fail, some investments will lose money, and some decisions will prove wrong. They view these not as personal failures, but as the natural cost of pursuing extraordinary success. Learning from both successful and unsuccessful risks is crucial for developing better judgment over time. Every risk you take, regardless of outcome, provides valuable information that can improve your future decision-making. Wealthy people analyze their wins and losses objectively, identifying what worked, what did not, and what they can do differently next time. This continuous learning process gradually improves their ability to assess and take calculated risks. It is also important to understand that risk-taking is not about being reckless or impulsive. The most successful wealthy people are often quite conservative in their approach, but they are conservative about taking smart, well-researched risks rather than avoiding risk altogether. They might spend months researching an opportunity, consulting with experts, and planning their approach before committing significant resources. The compound effect applies to risk-taking just as it does to other aspects of wealth building. Early in your journey, you might take smaller, more conservative risks as you build your knowledge, resources, and confidence. As you succeed and accumulate more wealth, you can afford to take larger risks that offer proportionally larger rewards. This progressive approach allows you to build wealth steadily while developing your risk assessment skills. The biggest risk of all might be taking no risks. In a world of constant change and opportunity, those who play it too safe often find themselves left behind. Inflation erodes the value of money sitting idle. Industries change, making old skills obsolete. New opportunities emerge that favor those willing to act boldly and decisively. The path to becoming a millionaire invariably involves embracing calculated risks. It means stepping away from the guaranteed mediocrity of the safe path and venturing into the uncertain but potentially rewarding world of opportunity. With proper preparation, careful analysis, appropriate diversification, and sound judgment, you can learn to take risks that build wealth rather than destroy it. The key is to be neither reckless nor overly cautious, but to find that sweet spot where preparation meets opportunity and calculated courage creates extraordinary results. 17. Sustaining wealth through continuous growth. Reaching the summit of financial success is only half the journey. The other half, often more challenging, is maintaining and growing that wealth over time. Many who have built substantial fortunes have watched them crumble because they failed to understand a fundamental truth. Wealth is not a destination, but a dynamic force that requires constant attention, nurturing, and strategic direction. The wealthy understand that money is like water. Without proper channels and containers, it flows away as quickly as it arrived. This is why you see stories of people who won great sums or inherited vast fortunes, only to find themselves back where they started within a few years. They treated their wealth as a static resource, rather than a living, breathing entity that needed care and guidance. The first principle of wealth preservation is understanding that your relationship with money must evolve as your circumstances change. When you had little, your focus was on accumulation and basic financial discipline. Now that you have achieved significant wealth, your mindset must shift towards stewardship and multiplication. You are no longer just earning money. You are managing a financial ecosystem that can either flourish or wither based on your decisions. Diversification becomes crucial at this stage, but not just in the traditional sense of spreading investments across different areas. True, diversification means creating multiple streams of wealth generation that operate independently of each other. If one source faces challenges, others continue to flow. This might mean owning businesses in different industries, holding various types of assets, or developing income streams that respond differently to economic conditions. The wealthy also understand the power of compounding, not just in financial terms, but in knowledge and relationships. They continue to educate themselves long after achieving success, recognizing that the world changes constantly and what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. They read extensively, seek mentorship from those who have sustained wealth longer than they have, and remain students even as they become teachers to others. One of the greatest threats to sustained wealth is complacency. Success can breed a dangerous sense of invincibility that leads to poor decisions. The wealthy combat this by maintaining the same disciplines that built their wealth in the first place. They continue to track their finances carefully, make decisions based on facts rather than emotions, and avoid the temptation to believe their own success stories too completely. Another critical aspect of wealth sustainability is understanding the difference between assets and liabilities, particularly as your lifestyle evolves. It becomes easy to justify expensive purchases as symbols of success, but each acquisition must be evaluated honestly. Does it contribute to your wealth or diminish it? Does it bring genuine value to your life or merely feed your ego? The wealthy often live more modestly than their means would suggest, not out of miserliness, but out of strategic thinking. The concept of wealth velocity also becomes important. This refers to how quickly your money works for you. Wealthy people ensure their money is always active, always generating returns, rather than sitting idle. They understand that inflation and opportunity costs mean that money, not working, is money losing value. Every dollar must have a job, whether that job is generating income, appreciating in value, or providing strategic positioning for future opportunities. Risk management takes on new dimensions when you have significant wealth to protect. This goes beyond simple insurance policies to include legal structures that protect assets, strategies that minimize exposure to economic downturns, and plans that account for various scenarios. The wealthy think several moves ahead, like chess masters, considering how current decisions might play out under different future conditions. Relationships become increasingly important in sustaining wealth. The network you build and maintain can provide opportunities, insights, and protection that money alone cannot buy. However, wealth also attracts those who would take advantage of your success. Learning to distinguish between genuine relationships and those based on your financial status becomes a crucial skill. The wealthy often find their closest advisors and friends among those who were present before their success or who have achieved similar levels of independence. Physical and mental health play vital roles in wealth sustainability that are often overlooked. All the money in the world means little if you lack the health to enjoy it or the mental clarity to manage it effectively. The wealthy invest in their well-being not just for quality of life, but as a practical matter of protecting their ability to make sound decisions and maintain their wealth-building activities. Legacy planning becomes relevant long before you might expect. This is not just about what happens to your wealth after you are gone, but about building systems and structures that can operate effectively whether you are directly involved or not. The greatest wealth creators build enterprises and investment strategies that can function independently of their daily involvement, creating both security and freedom. The wealthy also understand the importance of giving back, not just as a moral imperative, but as a practical element of wealth sustainability. Generosity creates goodwill, builds networks, and often provides unexpected returns. More importantly, it helps maintain perspective and prevents the isolation that wealth can sometimes create. Those who hoard their wealth out of fear often find that fear becomes self-fulfilling. Continuous learning extends beyond business and finance to include understanding human nature, social trends, and global patterns. Wealth provides access to information and experiences that can deepen your understanding of how the world works. The wealthy use these advantages not just for their own benefit, but to become better judges of character, more accurate predictors of trends, and more effective decision makers. Flexibility remains crucial even after achieving significant wealth. The willingness to adapt strategies, change approaches, and even admit mistakes prevents small finity problems from becoming large ones. The wealthy hold their methods lightly while holding their principles firmly. They know when to pivot and when to stay the course, when to be aggressive and when to be conservative. Perhaps most importantly, sustaining wealth requires maintaining the internal qualities that created it in the first place: discipline, patience, strategic thinking, and the ability to delay gratification do not become less important with success. They become more important. The temptations and distractions that come with wealth can erode these qualities if you are not vigilant in maintaining them. The journey from building wealth to sustaining and growing it represents a new chapter in your financial education. The stakes are higher, the decisions more complex, and the consequences more far-reaching. However, the same fundamental principles that got you here will serve you well going forward, provided you continue to apply them with wisdom, humility, and unwavering commitment to your long-term vision. 18. Your $1 million legacy. The moment you cross that magical threshold and see 7 figures in your accounts for the first time, something profound shifts within you. It's not just the number on a screen or the balance in your portfolio. It's the realization that you've fundamentally altered the trajectory of your life and proven to yourself that extraordinary wealth can indeed be created from absolutely nothing. You've joined a select group of people who refuse to accept their circumstances as permanent and instead chose to architect their own financial destiny. Your first million represents far more than money. It stands as a monument to your persistence, your willingness to learn, your ability to take calculated risks, and your refusal to surrender when faced with obstacles that would have stopped most people in their tracks. Every late night spent planning, every rejection you faced, every moment of doubt you pushed through, every small victory that built upon the last has culminated in this achievement. You've not only built wealth, you've built character, wisdom, and an unshakable belief in your own capabilities. The path you've traveled from having nothing to possessing substantial wealth has transformed you in ways that extend far beyond your bank account. You've developed the mindset of abundance, learned to see opportunities where others see problems, and cultivated the discipline to delay gratification for greater rewards. These mental and emotional assets are often more valuable than the money itself, because they represent your ability to create wealth again and again, regardless of external circumstances. Your journey to your first million has taught you that money is not something that happens to you, but something you actively create through your thoughts, decisions, and actions. You've discovered that wealth flows to those who provide value, solve problems, and serve others in meaningful ways. This understanding changes everything about how you view business, relationships, and life itself. You no longer see yourself as someone who works for money, but as someone who creates value and allows money to flow naturally as a result. The knowledge you've gained about money management, investment principles, and wealth-building strategies positions you to not just maintain your newfound wealth, but to multiply it exponentially. Your first million often becomes the foundation for your second, third, and beyond. The systems you've put in place, the relationships you've built, and the reputation you've established create momentum that can carry you to even greater heights of financial success. However, with this achievement comes a new set of responsibilities and opportunities. You now have the power to influence not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. Your success story becomes a beacon of hope for others who are still struggling to break free from financial limitations. The way you handle your wealth, the choices you make, and the example you set can inspire countless others to believe that they too can achieve extraordinary things. The wisdom you've accumulated through your wealth-building journey is perhaps your most valuable asset. You understand the importance of multiple streams of income, the power of compound growth, the necessity of continuous learning, and the value of building strong relationships. You've learned that success is not a destination but a way of traveling, and that the habits and mindsets that created your first million are the same ones that will create your next millions. Your relationship with money has evolved from one of scarcity and fear to one of confidence and mastery. You no longer worry about money in the same way you once did because you understand how to create it. This shift in perspective allows you to make decisions based on opportunity and potential rather than fear and limitation. You can take calculated risks that others cannot, invest with a longer-term perspective, and pursue ventures that align with your values and vision. The network you've built during your journey to wealth becomes increasingly valuable as your success grows. The relationships with mentors, partners, clients, and fellow wealth builders create opportunities for collaboration, learning, and mutual growth. These connections often become the foundation for even greater achievements, as successful people tend to work with and support other successful people. Your first million also provides you with options and freedom that were previously unavailable. You can choose how to spend your time based on passion and purpose rather than just financial necessity. You can invest in experiences, education, and opportunities that enrich your life and expand your capabilities. You can support causes and people that matter to you, creating positive impact beyond your own immediate circle. The legacy you're building extends far beyond the money you've accumulated. You're creating a blueprint that others can follow, demonstrating that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results through dedication, learning, and persistent action. Your story becomes part of the larger narrative of human potential and the power of individual determination to overcome any obstacle. As you look toward the future from your position of financial strength, new possibilities emerge that were invisible when you were struggling to make ends meet. You can think bigger, plan longer, and take on challenges that have the potential to create not just wealth, but lasting change in your industry, community, or the world at large. Your first million becomes the launching pad for achievements that may dwarf even this significant milestone. The personal satisfaction of achieving something that once seemed impossible cannot be overstated. You've proven to yourself that you have the ability to set ambitious goals and achieve them through intelligent effort and unwavering persistence. This knowledge gives you confidence to tackle any challenge, knowing that the same principles and mindset that created your wealth can be applied to any area of life where you seek improvement or achievement. Your journey from nothing to millionaire status represents a complete transformation of your relationship with possibility itself. Where you once saw limitations, you now see potential. Where you once accepted circumstances, you now create conditions. Where you once hoped for change, you now make change happen through deliberate action and strategic thinking. The blueprint you've followed and the wealth you've created serve as proof that the principles of success are available to anyone willing to learn them and apply them consistently over time. Your achievement stands as evidence that background, education, and starting circumstances need not determine ultimate outcomes. Through your success, you've become living proof that self-made wealth is not only possible, but achievable by anyone willing to commit to the journey. Your million-dollar achievement marks not the end of your story, but the beginning of an even more exciting chapter where you can leverage your resources, knowledge, and experience to create impact and wealth on an even greater scale.